call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. Clerk?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Because of technical difficulties, I will be calling the roll tonight. Thank you. I noticed that Barb Dorff and Craig Stevens are both present and voting. Alder Galvin? Here. Thank you. Alder Johnson? Here. I did not hear.
Alder Johnson's here.
Thank you. Alder Weary?
Here.
Thank you. Please mute something. Alder Burnett?
Here.
Thank you. Alder Vanderleest?
Here.
Thank you. Alder Stoyer?
I am here.
Alder Stoyer's here.
Thank you. Alder Scannell?
Present.
Thank you. Alder Corpus Dax?
Here.
Thank you. I have Alder LaFaven and Alder Gerlach. Yes, thank you. And just give me a moment. Okay. Give me one more moment. I think I'm going to be saying that a lot tonight.
No problem.
Yeah, it's very slow. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you might want to just use Word or something.
Word?
Well, I just mean to take notes rather than if you're trying to work in Civic Clerk.
Yeah, it's setting the video, which would mean a lot of work on the back end. So let's see how this does. Okay, Mayor, we are on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Great. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation led by Alder Craig Stevens.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. And now we're on to the invocation.
We're all set?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. The past year and a half has been trying on so many different levels, everyone trying to make the best possible decisions to help protect themselves and survive during this pandemic. But there are many people that lost the battle to survive. Many of our city residents, including members in this chamber, had to deal with a loss of a family member or friend. As of recent, I would like to say thank you to a friend and a colleague for offering to help me with this invocation because I am currently dealing with a death within my own family. As I read the following from John Mark Green, I ask that you please take a moment to reflect on a memory of a family member or friend you have lost. How do we go on? How do we go on after the unthinkable happens? How can we carry the burden of knowing the world can be cruel and dangerous, the future so unpredictable? How do we grieve with empty arms and a head filled with echoing memories? We are stronger than we know, and this is how we show it, holding each other, giving comfort in the midst of pain, loving more fiercely through our actions and the things we say, making the world just a little bit better every single day, never taking life for granted, knowing that it can be snatched away. This world may bring deep darkness, but we are the barrier of light. We'll join our flames together and shine in the blackest of nights. Thank you for taking a moment to reflect on your memory, and please remember, all of us are the light to bring you out of the deep darkness. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alder. Very sorry for your loss, and thanks for sharing those words with us.
Thank you, Mayor. Now we're on to approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Just messing with the camera here, Shelby.
And I did not hear that at all.
No, sorry, just messing with the camera here.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we had a motion by Alder Scannell to approve the minutes from our last meeting, meeting of September 7th, 2021. Was there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Alder Dorff. Any changes there? All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. On to approval of the agenda.
So, I want to make a change.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to make a change to the agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to take protection of policy number 7, move to the top, or, I don't know if there's anybody here for that. Well, just in case they are.
Okay, so Alder Scannell makes a motion to take up protection and policy as the first committee. Is that sufficient?
You know, given the technical difficulties, I hope those who are here for this item will understand that it's going to be coming again to protection policy. Let's just
Just leave it where it is?
leave it where it is. And if we could just let people know we're having technical difficulties, and so we're not going to take up this item tonight, so that they don't stick around if they don't want to.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay, well, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the agenda made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. Any other changes suggested? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda has been adopted, or approved, rather. On to report by the mayor. Just a couple of quick notes. Nothing related to the agenda this evening, but we did make live a community survey for our residents to fill out, to kind of inform us on what they'd like to see out of the American Rescue Plan Act dollars that have been allocated to the city of Green Bay. So just wanted to flag that for folks. It should be on social media and has been, I think, covered by some of our local media as well. So certainly directing all kinds of, local stakeholders and residents to that survey to offer their input to us. It's a very unique opportunity that we have in front of us in the form of $23.7 million, thanks to the federal government. So certainly want as much input as possible into that decision-making process. Also, within the next few weeks, we will be having town halls that are focused both on the city's budget and that ARPA allocation and our spending plan as it relates to it. So certainly encouraging people to keep an eye out for those town halls. We'll have one on the east side, one on the west side, but both will be available virtually, so people can stay tuned for that as well. Should be occurring at the end of October. Yes, Alder Scannell.
Is all that information on the city website or the city Facebook page?
The survey is live on the city's website and
Website, okay.
should be out on social media. We don't have the dates designated yet for the town halls, but those should be out there very shortly.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for the question. And then also just wanted to touch on redistricting. This is something that the county board, I believe, will be entertaining tomorrow night. It's a very, very tight timeline because of the COVID-related delay in the census numbers that have come to us. So just wanted to flag that for council here and also for the public. We have to approve our new districts by October 18th. And so, so we're going to have to schedule, in all likelihood, a special meeting in between the already scheduled meetings in October. So envisioning an October 5th meeting, which, as I said, is already scheduled, but then probably an October 12th meeting to approve those maps in order to get it in before that deadline that's imposed by the state. So again, there's going to be that discussion at County Board, I believe, tomorrow night. Encourage people to tune in and offer their comments. But obviously a big deal. So once in a 10-year opportunity to change these maps at the local, state, and federal level. So please tune in and offer your feedback to us once we have those maps approved by the county. Question from Alderdorf.
I do. So you have to wait for the county to be done before we can look at it? Is that why we're waiting?
Yes, I mean, we don't have to wait, to look at the maps, right, or to offer input. IT Director Hronik has had some conversations with county staff, just the, logistics of the map making from the city's point of view. Our Clerk Jeffries has also been attending some of those discussions and I believe has interacted with some of the planning staff at the county level to offer their input. Obviously, we have a couple of county board members who serve on the city council as well. So if you have any brief thoughts, Alder Vanderleest, to chime in with, feel free.
They're going to have a viewing at 5 o'clock tomorrow night, and then our meeting is at 5:30 tomorrow.
Okay,
So,
very good. And that's still at the Resch?
yes, it is.
At the Resch Expo Hall for those that are interested in attending in person.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alder LaFave.
The maps are available right now on the Brown County website. So you can view them. And I went to the Brown County office and they printed off the 4 new ones. And from what I can see, they're much better, much better. So I think you'll be, I think, pleased with some of the new revisions on the maps.
Very good. Thanks for that, Alder LaFave. All right, and with that, that concludes my report. Any announcements from council? Alder
Mr.
Brunette.
Mayor?
Alder Brunette, and then Alder LaFave.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to alert the council that internet is working now, so I was able to pull up the city website to look at the agenda. And also want to welcome Chief Davis to the city of Green Bay. I was not able to attend your inauguration, but I just want to welcome you warmly from the city council. And sorry I couldn't attend your event, but I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure you'll do a great job for the citizens of Green Bay. Thank you.
Absolutely, well said. Thanks for being here tonight, Chief. Thanks for being here tonight.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you as well. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Any other announcements from our council? Alder Johnson.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yep, sorry, Alder LaFave and then Alder Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to mention flu shots are out. I got my flu shot today. I don't know if you can see my shot, my sticker here. Got my flu shot. Stru's has them, and I believe if you check some of the other places that they're starting with the flu shots. So it's important that we go out and get our flu shot. There's another thing that we can do to help, not just ourselves, but with the COVID, it helps too. I wanted to mention that I am going to bring up a motion right after number K, when the reports for all the committees come up. And this motion is, I can make a motion without objections to approve L1 to R1 committee reports. There is no second. I just have to ask 3 times if there are no objections. If there are not, then all the committee reports are approved. And then alders can pull any item that they want, and then you, Mayor, will take those in order, the pulled items. This we do this now in the county, and it helps us speed up the meeting.
Right.
This is through Robert's Rule of Orders.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that suggestion. I would want our law department and city attorney to kind of wade through that a little bit before we adopt that as a common practice.
Okay.
But certainly appreciate that suggestion. And City Attorney Chavez, if you have any comments on that, would welcome them.
We can definitely review that. The concern is that we have to provide, so we're basically treating the entire agenda as a consent agenda at that point. And so we have to be careful about what is being placed on that. Right now, we're kind of creating these mini consent agendas. And so when we're treating the entire agenda as a consent agenda, we're kind of running, we're really towing the line on what's legally or acceptable. And so I'll take a look at that to see if there's anything that we can do with that. But really, when you do consent agendas, it's supposed to be limited to items that are routine in nature, and that are, standard procedure or debate, because then you're giving the public adequate opportunity to know what's supposed to be, what's going to be approved right away versus what is potentially up for discussion.
The county does do it, so I would assume it's legal to do it. It's also in the Robert's Rule of Order. That's what we were told.
I will definitely look into that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Alder. Thanks, Attorney. Alder Johnson and then Alder Vanderleest.
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, there's been a lot of different types of grants and economic incentives that have come through from the federal government, from state government, obviously local government. There's one in particular I just wanted to point out, though, that was funded through ARPA through the state of Wisconsin, and that's the Bounce Back Grant. For those who are not familiar, this provides a $10,000 grant to businesses that are opening in vacant storefronts. Now, there are some exclusions and restrictions that apply. The reason I want to pull this one out in particular and call it out is because a lot of times a business in its first couple of years is when it's, most precarious. And this $10,000 grant can go a long ways in terms of helping a small business cover some of those rent expenses up front, or maybe some build-out costs. So if any of us know of a small business, or someone who's maybe operating out of their home, who's maybe contemplating starting a business, there's never been a better time. I've written a couple of, probably about a half a dozen letters of support as I work for a certified economic development organization that can do that, where we review the leases and just verify everything's kosher. But please keep that in mind if you are working with folks that are interested in starting a business, because I think that's going to be one of the ways that we really build back our economy, is encouraging entrepreneurism. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely, well said. Thanks, Alder. Alder Vanderleest?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really not in favor of LaFave's, in other words, Ms.
You do it the county, you
LaFave's
idiot.
changing our agenda the way we've been doing it. I think there's a lot more things on city council that need a lot more attention, and I don't just like to swipe through the whole works. And so I'm not in favor of changing how we've been handling our agendas, and I think we've done a very good job. And we have had a lot of the material that we're, the public's concerned about. And I think that we'll miss a lot of good discussions if we're going to just take it as a, 1 through 9 and all, going right through everything.
Right.
I think it's not for me. Well, I wouldn't support it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Alder. Alder Galvin?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a thank you to the Green Bay Fire Department. A week ago, Sunday, my wife and I were out biking on East River Trail, and she had a pretty bad accident, which required the response of Engine 8, and then also the Eagle Rescue Squad. She was unconscious for quite a while and had to be transported to the hospital. Everything's going real well. She's recovering. But I sent a note to the chief to thank him and the crew, but since and over the last 40 years, my family has made personal use of Green Bay Fire Rescue for my father-in-law, 2 of my daughters, and my wife on another occasion. And I can tell you, when your whole world is falling apart, and you hear those sirens coming, and you know that these people are dedicated to trying to make your tragedy turn out okay. It's just, we're blessed to have them, and for all the good work they do, and I just want to thank them. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Obviously sending a lot of warm thoughts to you and your family and your wife, so thanks for sharing those comments. Alder Stoyer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I'd like to piggyback on what Alder Galvin said. I had a recent injury myself. Fire department got out to my house within 7 minutes, took care of me, asked all the right questions. Really couldn't have done it without them, literally, so I'm thanking them as well. So that's it.
Thanks, Alder. Any other announcements from council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to the appointments. Just have one new appointment.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the new appointment by Alder Scannell. That was seconded by Alder Gerlach. Any discussion? None. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that appointment has been confirmed. On to the public hearing, and then I need to make a comment here about the hearing, and then a couple of our items under ordinances, second reading for adoption. So if anyone's here for the public hearing, by all means, please speak up. But we had a little bit of a snafu here and failed to provide the full 30-day notice required under statute for a public hearing notice related to comprehensive plan amendment. A new public hearing notice for the Tuesday, November 2nd Common Council meeting will be posted. So as a result, consideration of zoning ordinance 10-21 will also be held over. That's in addition to miscellaneous ordinance 03-21. And they will be considered on November 2nd at our Common Council meeting. So any questions there for staff? Director Steck-Schulte can certainly entertain, but just wanted to make that note there. And then we will move into ordinance's second reading for adoption. Again, noting that items K1 and K4 need to be held over.
Motion to suspend the rules, except for items
Alder Scannell makes a motion to suspend the rules and take up items 2, 3, and 5 with one roll call vote. That was seconded by Alder Weary. Any discussion on those ordinances?
Mayor,
Yes,
excuse me, can you please repeat that, and can you also go a little more slowly?
you bet. And I believe Civic Clerk might be back up. I don't know if it is
It is.
on your end.
Thank you, Mayor. It is still not functioning in the way that I need it for me.
Got it.
So if you would just repeat that and go more slowly. Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. So we had a motion to suspend the rules and take up items 2, 3, and 5 with one roll call vote. And that was made by Alder Scannell and seconded by Alder Weary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are we able to use the board as of yet?
It is very, very slow.
Okay,
So I think why not try to use the board? I don't know how long it's going to take for that to come up.
okay, we will give it a shot. Oh, I'm sorry, no, never mind.
Yes,
Okay.
just give me a moment.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Alders. You may vote on the adoption of K 2345. Yeah.
Nothing's coming up on mine. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
actually, unfortunately, so there were a few alders who voted, and I saw the votes, and then the votes went away.
Okay, so maybe we could just handle it verbally.
So yeah, I will call the roll. Alder Dorf,
Yes.
Alder Galvin,
Yes.
Alder Johnson,
Yes.
Alder Weary,
Aye.
Alder Stevens.
Yes.
I didn't hear.
Stevens votes yes.
Alder Burnett,
Yes.
Alder Vanderleest,
Yes.
Alder Stoyer,
Yes.
Alder Scannell.
Aye.
Thank you, Alder Scannell. Alder Corpus Dax.
Aye.
Thank you. And then Alder LaFave,
Aye.
Alder Gerlach.
Alder Gerlach votes yes.
Thank you. That motion passes, that adoption passes 12-0.
Okay, and that again.
So
was,
Steen,
Yes, Alder
I-
LaFave.
I'm in civic clerk now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so that was on items K1, or K2, 3, and 5.
2-5. Yes.
On K1 and 4, I'd entertain a motion to. Motion has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer, to hold items K1 and K4 until our November 2nd Common Council meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those items are being held. On to the report of the redevelopment authority.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Dorf,
Second.
seconded by Alder Scannell. Any items here to be handled separately? Item 1. Any others? All right, hearing no others, item 1 will be handled separately. All in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 1.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve, item 1 made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. The item was pulled by Alder Stoyer. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I spoke with Director Steck Schulte today, and I would just like him to kind of describe this item, if he would. And he mentioned he wouldn't mind doing that, so that's all.
Director?
Yep. Thank you, Alder Steuer. Thank you, Mayor. This essentially, obviously, the Tunin Properties Development Agreement was just in front of this body here not too long ago. At that time, they were essentially proceeding with the project, excluding the two buildings that were previously constructed by the developers, by the developer TMD Properties at that time. Essentially shortly after this was approved, as they were continuing in negotiations and discussion, they basically have come to an agreement to now include those two buildings as part of the overall acquisition. In addition, the developer will be making some improvements to those buildings as well. But there is no additional TIF assistance requested as part of that acquisition, but it does delay the project out an additional year essentially to allow them to generate the increment requested for the project. So a little bit larger project, no additional TIF funding, but delaying it 1 year to accommodate the developer, to accommodate that additional acquisition. And available to answer any other questions if anyone has it.
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Alder. Any other comments on that? Alder Brunette, go ahead.
I apologize, Mayor. I thought that Alder Steuer had pulled item 1. I don't necessarily want to pull that for discussion. I just want Clerk Jeffries to record me as a no vote.
I'm sorry, for which?
Item 1. Or, I'm sorry, item 2. See,
Item 2?
yes.
Okay. Clerk Jeffries, do you have that?
Yes. Yes, video again, so yes, I will record that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments on item 1? Alder Weir?
I apologize. I also thought number 2 was pulled, so I just wanted to be recorded as a no on that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alder Weary, also a no on item 2. Any other comments on item 1? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been approved. Report of the Improvement and Services Committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach, and that is to approve the report of the Improvement and Services Committee from September 15th, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Protection and policy.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens. Items here to be handled separately?
Number 7?
Okay. This item is to be referred to staff currently?
It's being referred to staff.
Yes.
Okay. Any others? Item 7 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved, with the exception of item 7. Your wishes?
Move to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve made by Alder Dorf.
Referring to staff.
Yep, motion has been made to refer to staff, made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Steuer. Item was pulled by Alder Vanderleest.
I guess if it's gonna be returned to staff, that's kind of what, we're gonna vote on it. I said, yes, that'd be great. Return it to staff. Thank you.
Very good. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item has been referred to staff. Plan Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Finance Committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Dorf,
Second.
seconded by Alder Scannell. Items here to be handled separately.
Item 3.
Item 3 will be handled separately. Any others? Hearing no others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 3. Motion to approve made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Scannell. The item was pulled by Alder Brunette.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Question for staff. Who would have some insight on this contract? Would that be the police department or purchasing manager?
I can speak on that, Alder.
Yes, thank you, Commander Work. I guess the question is, I remember my first time on the council, it was a bit controversial because the contract had been pulled or, removed from the Humane Society and put at Packerland Veterinarian, I believe.
Correct.
And there were a number of concerns, and I hadn't really, I left the council for a while, and now I'm back, and so I guess my questions to you are there any concerns, any issues that you see with the Humane Society that over the course of the 3-year contract would cause us to pause a little bit?
No, when we negotiated this contract and we met with the Humane Society, I thought they were fair. The scenario that you described when it went to Packerland Vet, I believe, in my professional opinion, that the contract was lower than what it should have been at the time. And when we met with the Humane Society, and our goal was to get on an annual cycle consistent with the city budget, which they were willing to do. And with the cost and inflation and going back on what history of what that lower contract was, we felt that $100,000 each year with a 3% kicker with inflation each year was fair. And for both sides, given the services, the amount of animals that we bring out there. So I have no hesitation with that contract whatsoever.
Commander Work, there are no issues worth noting between the Humane Officer and the Humane Society, any bad situations the council should be aware of?
Well, I think nothing to raise to the level of council.
Okay, thank you. I'm in favor of this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The items has been approved. Park Committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Any items here to be handled separately? Number 2. Any others? Item 2 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 2.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Seconded by Alder Dorf. Yes, Alder LaFave.
I'm sorry, I couldn't I couldn't unmute myself in time. I want to know number 4. Unfortunately, I did not attend the park board meeting, and I apologize for it. I want to know, what are they talking about changing the notification?
Okay, we can just go to Assistant Director James Anderson, I believe is on the, oh, no, Director Ditchite is here. Director, go ahead.
Yes, so this was it. Yeah, so we are reviewing the policy that was put in place in 2019, and we'd like to get some clarification as far as when the public is going to be notified in relation to new construction projects in the park. So it's a little clearer definition than what is currently listed in the existing policy.
Okay, I'll try to watch for it when it comes up so I can attend. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alder. So we do have a motion and a second to approve item 2. Item was pulled by Alder Brunette.
Thank you, Mayor. Not my district. As you can see, the council decision at the committee level was to hold with no recommendation. It was a 2-2 vote. And what I mentioned at the Parks Committee, and Alder Weary, I believe, as well, it's not that I'm personally against public art. I think it's a very good and fine thing to do, and I'm usually supportive. The question really was, with those TIF dollars, are there other improvements to the district that could be made? I noted the flooding, other infrastructure needs in that area, and Director Stachulti was emailing, Alderman Weary emailed the director. He responded back with a little more background information that I think that the council should be made aware of. So if it's okay, Mayor, I'd like to ask the director to fill the council in on any other needs that those funds could go towards in the TIF.
Absolutely. Director Stechschulte?
Certainly. Thank you, Alder. Thank you, Mayor. So these are the funds we're looking at, again, are directly affiliated with TIF District number 5 in the downtown area. Essentially in spring 21, actually probably even back in February, actually right when I first started, I had a conversation with the finance department regarding the expenditure period ending for TID 5 in 2021. Essentially that is The actual closure of the district is in December of 2026. But there's usually a 5-year limitation on a typical TIF district where expenditures need to be committed as part of that project plan. And then those last 5 years are essentially set aside to generate revenue, usually to fund any committed improvements to that point. So those are two key dates to know regarding that. So at the time of closure, which would be the 2026 number, right now, I think our finance department is projecting TID 5 to have a balance of approximately $5 million. And so these funds will be collected over the next 5 years. To be clear, it is not funds that the city currently has in its coffers. But will be generated over the next 5 years in terms of collections. Staff has been spending a significant part of the last several months trying to identify eligible projects that will allow the city to access and use those projects, use funds towards qualified city projects. Essentially, any fund balance that remains in there gets distributed at time of closure, gets distributed back to the other taxing jurisdictions. So there are essentially two categories of projects essentially that need to be met in order to be considered quote unquote an eligible project essentially. One is it needs to be identified directly to a project within the approved project or adopted project plan that's been adopted both by the City Council and the Joint Review Board. Projects that are not within essentially that project, usually require a formal amendment process to go through the board. This also means that projects that must occur within the TIF district itself or within a half mile if direct benefit can be shown to that key geographic area that is TIF 5. The other item that is the key is that it has to essentially be formally committed. Funds need to be committed is the proper term, I believe, prior to the end of the expenditure period in order to be qualified. So essentially it's kind of a project that is ready to go, so to speak, and can be identified through a formal plan process or otherwise. Certainly the ideal situation is obviously projects that can be tied back to existing projects that have been identified within the project plan, have already been approved by the City Council originally. And it's an addition, but the key is actually the Joint Review Board as the governing body over the TIF districts. So, based on direction, we have assembled a preliminary review of potential projects based on feasibility of moving forward this year and being consistent with that project plan. A considerable amount of those has been identified as improvements to Light Park in the area, including that. One of the areas that was identified in conversation at the staff level, including with Director Ditchite, was the incorporation of about $45,000, I believe, for sculpture and art projects as part of that park improvement. One of the other areas that we are actually actively working with Director Grenier, his department is actively working on considerable improvements to the areas there to actually make improvements to allow for cruise ships and other areas to actually be able to dock in that particular area. That was around $2.2 million at last effort. So this one, and then some of the other areas, other improvements to Light Park being considered included a new shelter facility, including some other improvements based on brick pathways, other improvements specifically to the park itself as part of that effort. We don't have an absolute finalized list yet. We have reviewed the Light Park improvements. There is a specific category in the adopted project plan that refers to essentially other public improvements related to Lights Dock Park immediately north of the Nishiki Bridge in a general category of park development is essentially that eligible category that has been identified in the current project plan. So what we're going through at this point, Director Ditchite, we wanted to make sure that these funds were eligible and were committed. We've since obviously have identified that particular category in the project plan, but are currently evaluating several other projects to try to see if they in fact meet both of those criteria that I previously discussed. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions folks may have.
Thanks, Director.
Thank you, Director. I do not have any questions. I think you covered it well. I personally believe that we should hold on to those funds or allocate those funds for some of the larger scale projects, infrastructure and things like that. 45,000 is a rather large amount. So it's not that I'm against public art. It's just that giving all the other things to make improvements to that district and that business community, I'd much rather wait till the end of this cycle to consider allocating such a large amount to public art. So with that, I'm just gonna be a no vote on this at this point. Doesn't mean I don't support it at a future date, but I think I stated my position well. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Additional comments on the item or questions? Alder Dorf?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I know that when we do development projects now, we do require that art is attached to many of those projects that we're doing. And I think, Mr. Director Steckschulte, did you say 5 million? What is our budget that the 45,000 is coming out of?
That is correct. At the end of 2026, I believe our finance staff is projecting approximately a $5 million allocation of funds over the next 5 years. The dollar figure we're currently looking at right now is $45,000, I believe, for the sculpture improvements.
Well, I would be definitely in favor of that, and I think we require it from the private sector, and I think that it would definitely be advantageous to have that art in the park, and 45,000 is not a significant, huge significant amount compared to the 5 million, so I'll be in favor of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Additional comments or questions from council? Alder Johnson and then Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Steckschulte, the decision, or the recommendation, I should say, to install the 4 art sculptures in Light Park, were there any other locations that were considered that would qualify within TID 5, or was it exclusively a commitment to try to make improvements at Light Park?
Yeah, staff commitment to Light Park improvements was the most logical connection in terms of what we looked at here. I would have to go back and review the specific language related to other areas. There are several areas where there are street improvements identified. It's possibility, depending on the actual description of the actual different areas, Alder, that we could maybe extrapolate that this could be part of the streetscape improvement of a particular street improvement, and could be looked at in that sense.
Okay, and then is there any intent to release perhaps a more comprehensive report of all of the things that we're looking to do with the excess funds there, as opposed to bringing these before us piecemeal? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second item. The first item that we funded through these excess TID funds was the grants for the parklets. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, Alder Johnson. Yes, that was the earlier item we had, and I think Director Ellenbecker is not, I think it was the first one we did approve, yes.
Okay, so is there a plan to bring, or an intent to bring forward a comprehensive plan, or are we going to continue to address these one-on-one?
Yeah, certainly. I think in this case, Alder Johnson, certainly staff was preparing it if it's consistent with the project plan. As previously identified projects, council certainly has approved those. But I think for just in terms of sharing information, I think we're happy to put a current list together of where we're at. Focused on the Light Park improvements because of Director Ditchite's efforts and Director Grenier's efforts here recently, but we'll complete the review of some of those other projects. And we'll include a list of what some of the things we looked at that we just didn't feel, that may have been eligible, but we didn't feel would be ready to go in a timely fashion to meet by the end of this year. I can certainly provide that list.
Yeah, I think it would help this council make more informed decisions, when we have all options in front of us. I don't know, to Alderdorf's point, I mean, it's a relatively small percentage of the overall scope there, and it certainly is a qualifying expenditure. So I don't know that it would rise to the level of my opposition today, but again, I think it would help us as a body to make informed decisions when we have all of the information in front of us, particularly given some of the major infrastructure opportunities that we have in that area. And then, of course, I think that there probably are some members of this body that might even have some recommendations that they would add to that list as well. So,
thanks, Alder.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I concur with the previous two alders in their comments, and would note that we did, as a council, pass a public arts fund, and it's my understanding that this isn't coming from that fund. This is kind of over and above, so, which is fine, but I think in the future it should come out of that fund that we're setting aside. I appreciate Director Steckschulte, your help in giving me the information that you did. I do believe we should have kind of more full accounting or understanding of what is going to be going on in that area, especially with the infrastructure needs, so that we can make a more informed decision. And we had a small discussion about it, and I'll put in a request tonight, as part of the rail yard project. Yep, tonight, Alder Scannell, I know it costs $5, no, I can't. That's okay. He's reminding me it costs money to put in a request tonight. Now I lost my train of thought. When we passed the rail yard, we put in as a requirement, there be a spot set aside to commemorate the Fort Howard location, that there be a historical area designation to be determined in the future, maybe some kind of interactive, something like, hey, you're on the site of where this stood, and it was a big part of Green Bay. And I know, Director, you probably haven't had a chance to look at that yet, so this is why I want to send it to RDA. We have no idea the scope of that or the cost of that, and I really don't want that to be at the tail end and say, well, now we're out of money. So we're going to throw something together that's kind of not really what we want. So I'm going to vote against this tonight because I really don't have a clear vision of all what's needed yet. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Then we have a few others. Alder Stoyer, then Alder Gerlach, then Alder Vanderleest.
I'm going to piggyback on what Alder Wery said too. That there was a promise of looking at the half acre or so of land in the rail yard district, talking about the history of this area. And I've talked to some of the private people over there too, and it sounds to me there might be some confusion. They might be thinking that maybe some private entities need to come forward to help fund that. I would like a description or some kind of something to describe, where the funding would come from. If it's going to be a combination of, municipal and private, or just private. So that's basically where I'm coming from on that piece. So, as far as the amount for this, the $45,000, I'm fine with it, but I concur with Alder Johnson on this as well, that council needs to know a little more comprehensively what's out there for all of us. So, that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Director Stick-Schulte, do you want to weigh in briefly on the Fort Howard marker concept?
Yeah, I just, certainly it is something that is on our list to evaluate, Alder Wery. In fact, Director Ditchite actually and I had a very brief email conversation regarding is there something, one of the things, the larger expenditures that's being considered for Light Park is the upgraded shelter facility and restrooms and kind of thing. As a part of that structure, is there something we could do as a commemoration for Fort Howard as part of that, even on that side of things? Certainly we do have exactly, the rail yard is certainly the original area where that was identified. And I think we still have a hope to look and identify that there. But there is certainly an opportunity to take a look and offer that recognition as a part of one of the other improvements. Certainly one of these, something we'd be mindful of, and if we have a more comprehensive idea. I don't know if Director Ditchite has some other specific design ideas in mind with that. Certainly something is certainly on our list of things to evaluate. And obviously we want to make sure if it is a private sector obligation, we'd like to see them come through with that. But if there's our end to help encourage that investment and make that happen, I think this is certainly the opportunity to take a look at that.
Great. Thanks, Director. Alder Gerlach, and then Alder Vanderleest, and Alder Scannell.
Remind folks that are on the Parks Committee and those who didn't see the meeting that I don't know her title, Laura Schley, what is her title?
Public Arts Coordinator?
The Arts Coordinator did point out that there are, and I'm sorry, I don't know the word for this either, there are 4 things there in the park. Platforms, pedestals, something that were always intended for sculptures, and so it's not like this is something new that wasn't planned for. I just wanted to mention that.
Great point. Alder Vanderleest?
Thank you, Mayor. Mine be for the director. If over the 5-year period before the district actually terminates, they're planning on about $5 million coming in. Do they plan on spending the whole $5 million in other words, as far as I understand, if they're going to build a shelter, if they're going to fix the dock so they get bigger boats, and I understand that they're going to need some money to do it. And most of this money would come out of the TIF district. Is that correct?
All of it.
All of it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And on On the $45,000, is that for the next 5-year period that we're talking, or are we talking just for the 1-year period?
That would be, it'd just be a one-time cost, Alder. That would be one-time to put those, install those, and it would be essentially one-time committed funds.
When do they actually plan on moving forward with the shelter and things like that? Is there a time frame on that yet?
We'd like to move forward that. Essentially, what we'd like to do essentially by this fall is to have kind of a design roughly committed on that. I think Director Ditchite has actually done some work on getting the estimates and forth based on other shelter facilities that we've constructed. Altering that a little bit to the site and actually have that underway really within the next, I don't know, Director, when did you have an idea of when construction might occur for that?
Well, our ideal would be to hire an architect in the very near future, and that could be done in the next month or so. And construction would probably likely happen next year, either spring or summer, more likely summer.
And how many square foot are they looking at to build?
That is undetermined yet. We would work with whatever architect we hire to come up with a conceptual design of what that building would look like. The primary focus of the building would be restrooms, but there's, potential to have a room attached to it, which could serve for several different functions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Scannell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a reminder that we were setting aside some acreage at the rail yard for this private sector project. It was to move the officers' quarters from Maple to the site, and that fell through. And as far as I know, there is no other group or no other project out there waiting to be done. So I don't know that to be hoping for a private sector to, step up. I don't think we're gonna hold our breath a long time for that. So certainly, we as a city can look forward to do something, and I appreciate the directors looking at that and coming up with something. And as far as the funds here, I certainly support this, and I'm certainly hoping that this is just the beginning, that we can certainly come up with more funds as we move along. Art is very important in the development of a city. It has been proven time and again that art creates a more vibrant atmosphere and increases business and the whole area, traffic in the area. So I certainly support this now and hope as we move along, we can fund our arts more and more. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Steuer for a second time.
Thank you, Your Honor. On what Alder Scannell had said, 414 North Maple, I had a chance to go through that building with the Historical Society folks, and it was built in the 1840s. They moved it after the railroad came through. They moved it in 1866, so it's historical in its original spot. It's historical now. They were gonna move it back and maybe make a guide center of some sort there, and they were talking about a Métis and Native American as well as French, British, the whole thing, all the 7 nations that existed on that spot. So the Daughters of the American Revolution have reached out to me. I gave a talk to their group some time back. They said they're very interested in maybe getting involved, and I think there might be some other private groups that would really like to get involved with that. So I'll be in touch with the directors and administration on that as well.
Great.
So,
Well, thanks for that background, Alder. Alder Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go back to talking about the agenda item. Just teasing, Alder Steuer. Alder Gerlach had raised the point, and I'm just looking to Director Ditchite to maybe confirm that, because I guess I wasn't aware of this. Are those 4 platforms actually already installed in the park, or is that part of the funding request?
That is, to a certain extent, it's part of the funding request. So what's there now are 4 brick pads that are currently in place. Those brick pads do not serve as footings for the sculpture. So as part of the 45,000, actually it's 46,500. As part of that, 5,000 of that is set aside for footing installation. And so the footings can be placed anywhere. They don't necessarily have to go where those pads are located. Depending on the sculpture that is selected, if there's an alternate location in Light Park that's more suitable, we can look at an alternate location.
Okay. If there, and I think this is probably more directed at Director Schulte, we've identified that these sculptures, within this motion at least, need to be installed at Light Park. Is that a necessity, or could they be installed anywhere within the qualifying TID 5 boundaries?
Based on my preliminary read on, like I said, on the project plan, Alder Johnson, is that we specifically are tying this to the public improvements related to Light Park. I could go back and take a look at, there are multiple projects that have been adopted and identified in there as street improvements, as areas for specific street improvements. So it would be going back and seeing whether or not there would be the possibility of if the description of the project is general enough to include that it would be a reasonable human being could assume that it would allow public art installation as part of that street improvement project. But at this point, it's certainly the natural fit, at least this point, did seem to appear to be Light Park. But I can go back and to evaluate if there are other alternatives, locations, if desirable.
Okay, and the reason I bring that up is because I think there are other places within TID 5 in particular that maybe have a little bit higher foot traffic, that might have, where these things could perhaps have more impact than trying to congregate them all in one space. So from your perspective, if we just struck the item that said Light Park and replaced it with, within TID 5, would that detrimentally harm the motion, or would that still allow staff enough flexibility to maybe make some decisions about some other locations that are still in alignment with TID 5, but perhaps might give us an opportunity to consider some other options?
I think if that would allow us, and again, if we could evaluate it specifically to the locations to be consistent with what's currently in the adopted project plan, then I would say being able to place them within TID 5 would be an acceptable motion. And that still may result in, and as I said, if our evaluation says we don't really have one that feels that that's a logical or a fair connection to be made in terms of locations, then all four still may end up resulting at Light Park.
Yep, and that was kind of my intent. So
Perfect.
With that in mind, I would offer up an amendment to strike in Light Park and replace it with within TID 5.
Motion has been made by an amendment has been offered by Alder Johnson. It was seconded by Alder Scannell, and that is to strike Light Park from the Light Memorial Park from the item and insert in TID 5. Any discussion on that amendment? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Alder Dorf makes a motion to approve that item as amended, seconded by Alder Scannell. Any discussion? All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. No. And the ayes have it. That item has been adopted as amended. On to the Personnel Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Galvin, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been approved. Receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Alder Scannell makes a motion to receive and place on file the municipal court report for August 2021. That was seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay.
Your Honor,
The ayes have it.
I've been kicked out of Zoom. Again, I need the meeting ID and the password.
Very good. We are almost at our,
Do I need to bother? No. Okay, thank you.
on to resolutions.
Motion to suspend the rules? There's enough of them out there.
Motion has been made to suspend the rules and take up these items with one roll call vote. That was made by Alder Scannell and seconded by Alder Dorf. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Motion to adopt.
The ayes have it. There's been a motion made to adopt those items with one roll call vote by Alder Scannell, and that was seconded by Alder Stoyer. Do we need to do a roll call here, clerk?
Yes, I would need to call the roll.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Alder Dorf?
Yes.
Alder Galvin? Oh. Alder Johnson?
Yes.
Alder Weary?
Yes.
Alder Stevens?
Alder Stevens votes yes.
Thank you. Alder Brunette?
Yes.
Alder Vanderleest?
Yes.
Alder Stoyer?
Yes.
Alder Scannell?
Aye.
Thank you, Alder Scannell. Alder Corpus Dax?
Yes.
Alder LaFave?
Yes.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Alder Gerlach?
Yes.
Alder Gerlach votes yes.
Thank you. That passes 12-0.
Thank you, clerk. On to ordinances first reading.
Motion to advance.
Motion to advance that item made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any discussion? All in favor will signify by saying aye.
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 Nay. The ayes have it. That item has been advanced to a second reading. Petitions and communications.
Oh, it didn't do it.
Alder Brunette.
My apologies to Alder Scannell. This is a bit of a cost, but I did attempt to fill out the form, but we were offline, so I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna need help from the city attorney, though, to direct this to the right committee for discussion with possible action on creating an ordinance to allow golf cart style vehicles on city roadways. If you recall, we had discussed this about a year and a half ago, and the constituent who requested it pulled back due to COVID. So we want to move it to the committee level again. So Attorney Chavez, could you tell me where to send this?
Protection and policy.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you. Second one would be improvement in services to create a sound barrier or berm to buffer residential properties on parts of West Mason, west of Country Club to the city limits on the north side of the road. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any others? Entertain a motion.
Motion to refer.
Second.
Motion has been made to refer these communications to the proper authority. That was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Brunette. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Adjournment. Motion to adjourn made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Stoyer. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.